Migration of ducks. Once upon a time, in Yedigöl National Park, one of Turkey's national parks with a unique view, there was an enormous and immaculate lake. Right on the edge of this lake lived a family of 4 ducks who made a tree trunk their home. Along with their parents, 2 duck siblings, Roy and Vilma, spent their days eating fresh moss and swimming in the clear lake. Although the mother duck was bored with this monotonous life, she tried not to show it to her family. One day, a very large flock of ducks came to their home pond. The feathers of the ducks were sparkling clean. Roy immediately approached the flock of ducks that came to the pond and got to know them. He asked them where they came from and where they were going. They told him that they were migrating south to Jamaica, to warmer countries because winter was approaching. Roya was very excited about this idea of migration, and she had never migrated before in her life. The flock of ducks said to Roy that he could join us and even migrate with his family. His brother Vilma and his mother were very warm to the idea, but his father, the duck, said that they were in good spirits here, that they had a pond and food to eat, and that there was no need for adventure. On this, especially the dreams of Royan were suddenly dashed. Of course, when this happened, the family members went to the father and said that their lives were very boring, and that they wanted to add some color to their lives, and that they wanted to go to this migration. But no matter what they did, the father had no intention of migrating. He didn't know any roads, and the other specimens that came to visit the pond didn't wait for them and set off. That night, the father, who had been thinking until morning, woke them up in the morning with a surprise and told them that they could migrate. Roy and Vilma were very surprised and even included their Uncle Ada in the migration. They set off early in the morning and all 5 of them took off from the pond. But when the first migrating duck family realized that they were heading north instead of south, it was too late. In fact, if they had paid a little attention, they would have immediately realized that they were heading in a different direction from the other birds. But with the excitement of their first sighting experience, they went in the opposite direction, and at the end of the night, in the darkness of the forest, and in the pouring rain, they took shelter under a piece of wood in the forest that had turned into a lake. They were very wet and cold, and the 5 of them hugged each other. Then a long-legged bird appeared in front of them, a duck hunter heron. They didn't even make a sound to avoid being noticed, but the hunter bird noticed those ducks. The duck family, on a migration journey for the first time, did not know what to do out of fear. The bird of prey's intentions were not bad. They wanted to protect them from the rain and welcome them into their home. But the ducks were always cautious because they thought they would take them home in the evening and eat them. The big duckling Roy was right to be afraid, because that night they needed morning prayers in a frying pan, which caused bad smells to come to their noses. The bird of prey had already eaten a fish in the pan and the bones were still in the pan, so the family tried to escape when the birds were asleep, but they were spotted and caught at the last moment. The bird of prey told them that their intentions were not bad and that he wanted to welcome them into his home, and they all went to sleep in their soft cotton beds. In the morning, the duck family took off, leaving the birds of prey's house to set off again on another sunny day. They were so happy that they had left a bad day behind and were flying freely and fast, soaring through the clouds as a family, all of them very excited to experience this for the first time. After a long journey, they suddenly found themselves in a big city with crowded high skyscrapers. The buildings were so high that they had difficulty flying. Uncle Sam was very hungry, and when he moved to eat a bread he found in the park, all the pigeons in the park moved towards the bread. When they realized that they couldn't fight their way out of it, they agreed to share bread and became friends. Sam told the pigeons that they had migrated to Jamaica but had lost their way and asked them for help. So the pigeons' father, Silly, said he knew someone who could help them, and they all went to him. But there was a problem. Fred the Jamaican parrot lived in a cage in a restaurant. The owner was a ruthless chef, and he loved to cook ducks. But they wanted to get that parrot out of there and go to Jamaica, to the lighted beaches of their dreams. The key to the cage was in the chef's shirt pocket, and the father duck and mother duck sneaked into the kitchen. They took the key, but the chef noticed them. They immediately ran to open the cage and flew away. They almost ended up on the chef's menu. Fred in the front and the duck family in the back set off for Jamaica. For 2 days they had to fly, but they rested at a duck rest stop on the way to recharge their energy. Finally, they reached Jamaica with its shimmering coast. This unique migration adventure will always be a wonderful memory for them. They realized once again that they can overcome difficulties as a family. You won't believe it, but their next migration route was to the Arctic with a lost herd of penguins, and together they set off on a new adventure.